Yes, hello, and yeah, I still don't quite know what day it is. As you can see, I'm not quite wearing pants with pockets in them, or really wearing anything at all. I'm game to get into the next chapter, where I believe we are gonna stalk Diane and Nick. So, let's fucking do that.
It's Nick.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Let's go.
That was a chapter. And it's both my favorite and my least favorite. Because it's way too damn long. Like fuckaroonies, and it's got like so much stupid ass garbage going on that's not very fun to play and not very fun to watch. But it also has a very fucking high point. The whole thing starts with us having a few hours before the tailing of Nick begins. The tailing will begin at 2200 and it's currently like 2030 or something. It gives you a bit of time to go around town and pick up collectibles and yada yada yada, but we just drove over to the crossing where it will begin, and then we smoked a little time displacement cigarette, and then the tailing mission was going on.
Nick's still in the bar.
Just as we planned then. I wonder what happens next.
Agent York, you're really enjoying this, aren't you?
And it's fairly uneventful. If you've played a tailing mission in GTA, it's exactly the same thing, and it's like that in all games, right? You follow the car at a certain distance, not too far away, not too close up, and the mission can bug, and it can be a little bit annoying, and sometimes it will loop and Nick will not drive where he's supposed to be driving. But this time it worked out fine, and it also didn't crash. He exits the bar at 2200 like he was expected to do, and Thomas, he runs over to our car, and then we follow him.
Okay. Time to play with the big boys then.
We hear from George that Diane hasn't actually left her house, so he's up there. During the tailing, we get cut off by like a truck thing, and we sort of like lose track of Nick. And then we just drive up to the gallery because we figured, well, that's where he's going because he was heading in that direction. And it seems like, yeah, that is what's going on. That's what George confirms outside, because he was like not super paying attention while Nick was arriving.
But George, something's different about you. Are you okay?
Turns out George has been drinking a little because this small town sheriff is understandably rattled by this serial murder case. And Yorkie kind of like brushes that aside. I guess he kind of understands where George is coming from. And he then decides to try and make his way into the house.
Zach, Nick and Diane are probably both inside.
The fun little thing is that the shadows aren't visible to Emily and George, and they never attack where they are. But they are so fucking close to where they are during this mission, because they are in front of the building, and just as we're going into the backyard to go into a shed which has a secret tunnel that leads into the house, we are actually assaulted by the shadows. And there is a funny little thing where if you run back to the front of the house, the shadows, they won't chase you to the front of the house, like they know that they're not supposed to exist in you. It's like they know that they're not supposed to be spotted by human beings or whatever. It's like they know that York is the only one who's supposed to be inside this world, or maybe they just don't exist when we are near Emily and Thomas and George. It's a little bit curious, but anyways, we go in through a secret tunnel that's under the house.
Emily, I want you guys to...
Wait out here, I know.
And then we fight some more shadows, and we also fight the most annoying enemy in the fucking game, and that is a witch that crawls on the ceilings and the walls. The annoying thing is about her is that she turns invisible, and while she is invisible, you cannot shoot at her. So you have to keep your distance, wait for her to become visible, and shoot her like 3 times, which does basically 0 damage. And then you have to repeat that until she falls down on the ground and shoots this orb thing after you, which you have to dodge, and then you have to repeat that thing over like 10 to 15 times until she's dead. That really fucking sucks. And also I actually died for the first time doing this playthrough. I actually died a couple of times, as you can see there. I don't know what happened. I do know what happened. Normally I pick up a very good melee weapon that won't break, and I pick up an unlimited SMG machine gun before I take on this mission. But I didn't do that this time because, I don't know, I guess I thought that I was better at the game than I actually was. So I got blasted by a zombie outside, and then later on I got killed again when I failed a puzzle. There's this dumb puzzle that I can never remember to get right because there are 2 different variations of it in the game, and I can never remember which variation is which. In this variation there is this tree with hands on, and you shoot 3 apples down from it, and then you place 3 apples at a specific point. But it doesn't tell you that you need to place the apples, and it doesn't tell you how many apples there are, and there is a similar puzzle that I confused it with, so I was looking for a 4th apple. And what makes this especially sort of like tricky is that after you've shot down the 3 apples, there will still be a point on the tree where you can shoot, like it's telling you there is something you can shoot, and I thought that was the 4th and final apple, but it wasn't. But it's kind of is, because the puzzle objective is a little bugged. So we complete that puzzle, and we through this red world thing actually managed to make our way into Diane's mansion, which is locked from the inside through some weird shenanigans using secret tunnels and using sort of like differences there are between the red world and the normal world. And our timing honestly couldn't have been better. When we enter Diane's sort of like main lobby, she is hanging above that big ass tree sculpture she has, and we can tell that the rope that she's hanging from is about to loosen, so she will get impaled by the tree sculpture when she will fall on it.
Diane, don't move. Don't move your hands and stay.
George, he like starts to use his manly ass muscles to push the tree out of the way so that Diane will land on the ground. But York, he senses that he won't be able to do that in time, so he dashes up the stairs, and then he does like this fly dive and catches Diane, and
George, catch us!
Sorry about that. As I was saying, York, he runs up the stairs and he heroically leaps into the air and he catches Diane, and then he's caught by George's manly, muscly arms, and they manage to save Diane. Oh yeah, and Nick, he's passed out on the floor for whatever reason.
Thomas, call an ambulance.
Thomas runs out and calls an ambulance, and then while they're sort of like getting together inside and be like, what the fuck happened here? Diane, she gets up very majestically, and without her tongue, she starts to talk about that art piece that was about to fall on her.
Oh, yeah. What a beautiful piece.
And while she's talking about this art piece that was about to fall on her, there's like blood coming out of her mouth because she's missing her tongue, and there's seeds coming out of her mouth, so she's... No, that won't make sense yet. That will make... Yeah, the seeds thing, we'll get to that later, why she's acting like she's acting, but she's acting like because of the seeds. You might have figured that out by now, because, you know, Yorkie was scratched across the face by a crazy-ass kitty cat lady, right? Yeah, so that's gonna be explained later. But she's explaining what that art piece is and why it's majestic with this, like, broken-ass speech pattern because her tongue is missing. And she sort of like, kind of like stops her little speech, and then as she stops her little speech, the art piece begins to tumble towards her.
Back off! Don't touch me!
Emily then tries to grab her and pull her out of the way, and she just doesn't. She actually resists. York heroically charges towards both of them, and the statue falls. And when the dust literally settles, George, Emily, and York are alive, and Nick is to the side, you know, and Diane has been crushed by the piece. So
I requested, and
yeah, Nick, he's very... No, Nick, alright, he woke up during all of this, yeah, right, and George is like holding him off because he's getting super aggressive. The reason why he's aggressive will make sense in a few minutes, because Willie shows up, Forrest Cason's dog, and we then follow Willie because Willie is trying to get our attention, and it's this weird break where Diane has just been crushed by a giant fucking tree, and she's like the third fucking victim of the serial killer, and then we follow this stupid ass Dalmatian.
Willie, are you out there?
And we follow him into Diane's back room, and in Diane's back room, which is her bedroom, there is a big ass closet, and we push the big ass closet aside, and inside that secret room in the back room, that's also her bedroom, there is a hatch with a lock on, and we shoot the lock, and we found out that Forrest Cason is inside. Turns out that Forrest and Diane had an affair, and had been having an affair for quite a while, but they were keeping it on the down low because Forrest Cason is in the process of getting divorced, and he doesn't want his wife's lawyer to find out about Diane. Turns out that Nick is also partially here because of that. It turns out, at least according to Cason, that Nick and Diane were indeed just friends who talked about art. And the reason that Nick is here now is because he is he's objecting to how Diane lives her sexual life. And that was why he came here to the gallery at like shit o'clock at night. It wasn't to sleep with her or anything like that. It was to like tell her not to sleep with Carson. I guess he kind of knew that the reason that she wasn't at the bar was because she was with Cason. According to Cason, right? Because Diane is fucking dead, right? She can't tell us if what he's saying is true or not. And Nick is very much a suspect still, and actually gets arrested by George, because Kaysen couldn't really have done it, could he? Right? I mean, he was locked inside a room where the lock was locked from the outside of the room, and so he couldn't do it. And Nick could very well have been faking, like, passing out on the floor after he had, put Diane up in that fucking, like, saw trap thingy. Nick says that he didn't do it. He says that he was knocked out. And I guess there is some reasonable doubt as to if he did it, because Kaysen said that as Nick was arriving, he was locked in the room, and then he heard Boots' footsteps outside, and multiple times, and it sounds like he means multiple pairs. So there is some doubt as to if Nick could have done it, but I guess we'll find out next time, won't we? But as I said, this is a conflicting chapter. It's very bad, but it's also very good. It's a perfect example of the game's critical reception, really. It is boring, it is trite, it is broken, it is annoying, but it's also very beautiful and interesting and all of that. If you have to get a feeling for the game, this is the chapter, because it has the entire experience from the fucking worst to the fucking highest of highs, as we saw, and it's got like the most insane emotional whiplash, because it's like, okay, we're following Nick, and then there's a big ass truck, and then we go behind a mansion and shoot some zombies, and then there's that little bitch girl from the garage who's like crawling out of the walls, and you're wondering, well, what the fuck is up with Diane? She's some kind of like asshole lady who has like young women buried in her walls, and that's never addressed right. And you got like the whole Diane dying thing, and then the stupid ass dog comes, and then the funny music starts, and it's like this wank, and then you find Kaysen, and he's like picks up his little plant, and it's like whoo, emotional whiplash, and Nick, he's like, I'm sad about Diane dying. It's a chapter that really can't quite make up its mind, and it was better off as like 3 individual chapters, like the game was like very much doing in the beginning, right? Where it was like, okay, this is a thematic little piece of game that is sectioned off into a chapter, and this is a differently thematic little piece of game that is sectioned off into a chapter. That could have been this chapter. We could have had the tailing thing, where we start at the Galaxy of Terror and then we end at the mansion. That could have been a chapter in its own. That would have been fine. It would have been 15 minutes. That would have been good. And then we could have had the whole entering the mansion while it's in the red world and solving the puzzle, and then that should end. And then that chapter would end with Diane getting crushed. And then in the next chapter we would be introduced to like little stupid ass Willie. And then that chapter would just be finding Kaysen, talking to Kaysen about all that, and getting Nick to jail. It would have been fine as 3 chapters. It clearly doesn't fucking work as a single chapter. And fuck that dumbass grudge bitch fight, because it's not just that you fight the dumbest fucking boss monster and the most annoying fucking boss monster. At the end of the level, you fight her 3 times in quick succession, and this is a game where you can only carry 4 guns at once. And one of those guns has to be the fucking stupid ass pistol. So by the time that I was facing off against these 3 dumbass grudge ladies, I didn't have any of the cool like katana saber thingies left. I just had a dumbass SMG. That was all I had, so I had to use that. It was fucking terrible, and I hate them so much. The only bright side of this is that I have fought half of this type of boss enemy that's present in the game, and I'm looking very much forward to being done with the other 4. But before we're gonna do that, we're definitely at some point gonna do a bit of a little side adventure where we go get the unlimited SMG and we go get the fucking like guitar that won't break, because holy shit, I'm not fighting them using just the equipment that I had like this time around. That's fucking bullshit. It's funny, I couldn't remember that there was a part of the game that I didn't like, but there actually is, and it's this part, and things will get better tomorrow. I'll see you then.